just so you know, I don't think that we've recorded the intros and outros for this yet. Hi, YouTube. How are you? I like how the cameras are higher. Do we look taller? Do we? No, we don't. We look the same. You look so erect.
Yes, I'm trying to be cool
chair.
right now. Be cool. Be cool.
What's that movie? I always forget when he's like, "Be cool, honey bunny."
I'm always.
Pulp Fiction. Why can I never remember that name? Have you seen that?
I have, but I'm the worst like movie recall person.
Yeah. But when it comes to Friends episodes,
Friends,
opposite.
Complete opposite. No, that's like the stuff of my childhood, so I can recall the most obscure
I
details.
watch like first of all, whenever I watch your videos on YouTube, do you take them down, right?
No,
Like some of your travel videos.
no.
I just replicate or like I make more of them in my head.
Okay.
So I go and look. I'm like, oh, I thought there was more.
No, those stay up indefinitely.
Okay.
And I'm actually working on one more.
Yay!
So it'll be up soon.
After this, remind me and I'll show you my travel video. Not the same quality, no drone, but
Okay.
totally inspired by you.
Aw.
Whenever I like watch your videos though, in like the watch next, it's all Friends stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Either like I watch Friends stuff after watching your videos and it like remembers that, or it just is listening to our conversations and
Sure.
it's like, oh, Friends.
All of the above. But you know what? There are a lot worse things to be next up than Friends. So
True, because my husband watches them, so it's like big rig towing, and like it's an hour of a guy hooking up his tow truck to like a big rig
okay.
to tow it.
I mean, I would say that's a little bit awkward of a next up to,
That's
you know.
the next step. Or he watches a lot of like live leaks. So like legit videos of people killing people, or like there's this one I know he's regular. There's this one that he watched. I did not watch it, but it was like down in Brazil and it was a soccer game. It was like to the death, and like the ref called a play a way that people didn't like, and some guy like reacted to the ref or something like that, and they like beat him up, and then they took that guy, they like ripped his limbs off his body. What?
I kind of thought stuff like that was illegal, maybe.
That's real.
Okay.
The one he did show me the other, this is a horror. I know, this is horrible. Horrible.
I'm like, okay.
I'm just trying to reach a different demographic. I'm trying to get you grooms into this.
This
into the
is
podcast.
this is a wedding podcast, right? Like we're gonna talk about okay.
We will, but first I must tell you the story.
Okay.
No, not a death. It was like a baptism and this baby of a baby, and the priest like, imagine I'm holding a shirt, and I like dip the shirt in the water and I take it out and I fling it, but with a baby, and it's like, okay, we'll start recording now.
This is a real left turn here.
I know. This is my life. It's just normal everyday stuff.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready to record for the real episode of Under the Veil. Okay, let's start, Kimberly, with your favorite Friends episode. Ready? Go.
Definitely has to be.
You have one.
Yes, of course I have one.
Okay.
I mean, every diehard fan has one. Forgive, I don't know the exact name of the episode. I think it's called The One Where Everyone Finds Out, where about Monica and Chandler.
Oh, yes.
And so it's that beautiful dynamic of Rachel and Phoebe are trying to seduce Chandler, and you know, I just think it's when Phoebe is saying lover, like
it's a good one.
Yeah, it's an actual knee slapper. It doesn't get old.
I like the wedding scenes in Friends because they're like super chill and not, you know, like there's not like a lot of people in attendance.
Sure.
And it's like a one scene. Like there's not like a lot of elements to it. You're just like, and here's the altar. Like the one where Joey has that role and he shows up and he's like dressed
yes,
as like
absolutely.
a military guy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he's officiating, right?
And you know what? It's actually funny because when I picture my dream wedding, it always looks like when Ross is going to marry Emily.
Yeah.
And says Rachel. Just that beautiful The church
kind of
is
like
all
ruins,
crumbling.
like
Yes.
Mayowood, is because you love it there.
I need a little bit more crumbly. Mayowood's great.
Okay, what about you had a wedding at NP Event Space?
Yes.
Is it like that? Not as crumbly because it's a real building.
Yeah, kind of that vibe. Beautiful candles everywhere. It's just so atmospheric.
And like vines.
Oh, yes.
But the vines are like real.
Yes.
They weren't brought in. Just part of the venue.
Yes.
Okay. Does Eric know about that?
You
have
know,
like a long list.
That's a good question. You know,
will after listening to this episode.
Surprise.
Okay, so quick. What is the most important thing in your opinion to capture on a wedding day?
Yeah, I'm like, cough break. Excuse me. Most important thing. I'm going to say at least one candid moment.
Yeah.
Where you can look at you and your spouse being fully engaged, fully present, and real. Ideally, when you get your photos back, you would have a whole reel of beautiful, candid moments. But I think that sometimes weddings can be crazy, stressful. There's a lot going on. Where it's, at this time we're going to do this specific thing, and they can be pretty planned out.
Yeah.
And when you think about the real purpose of having your wedding photographed, having this album, it's to transport you back to this beautiful time when you were feeling all of these things. And so I think that being able to have one, or ideally a bunch of things that really bring you back and transport you to the heart of what you're doing, rather than like, here's me and my husband or wife, and we're smiling.
Remember? That was when you pinched my butt, so I would look like I was really smiling.
What? Oh, I thought you were telling me I really pinched your butt when we worked together, and I was like, wow,
I don't think it did happen.
No. I think I'd remember that. That'd be a little saucy.
No, you know what I do remember is that the DJ was really cranky. Remember that?
I must be blocking it from my memory.
It's good because an aunt was like, why did the DJ just slam the door in my face? Why is he so cranky? And I was like, oh, I think he's fine. I'll get the door for you from now on.
Sure.
Okay, but moments that are, actually you're in them instead of maybe that's kind of a good reason to have the engagement session, because then you can warm up and they remember some of that muscle memory, like, oh yeah, this is how we should pose, or when she says that word, we should probably look at the camera and not at our feet, or things like that, right?
Sure.
Is that making sense?
Yeah. And that's an interesting question, because it's not necessarily a thing that I think you have to come away with, like one specific photo.
Yeah.
It's more of a feeling and an attitude that you should capture in the photo. So honestly, it doesn't even matter what part of the day it's at, but just some relic that you can look at and say, that was how I felt. That was me being over the moon,
right?
Excited. That's the legacy of this day and this commitment that we just made.
Like when you say that, okay, there's a certain photo, exactly. You'll know. 4th of July vow renewal at Gardens of Castle Rock. That, what photo I'm talking about. But it's very like in the moment. Like, I don't even know how you capture that. Like, I don't know if you saw, there's a Perry James photo that just popped up at Legacy. And the bride has like a floral crown. Anyways, it's that same moment where I don't know even how you get that. Like, you can't pose. You can't pose like that. You just have to be in the right spot at the right moment, and the light and the sun is in like the right position in the sky, and they're facing this direction, and they just are like elated in the moment. And that's what you mean, right? Those are those kind of moments. So I think when brides and grooms are looking at their wedding pictures that they want to get for their wedding day, so a photo shot list and their timeline, they're thinking, okay, I liked this image on Instagram. How do I get that image? And maybe instead they should be thinking like, I love this portfolio of a photographer, and if I enjoy my day, I know I'll get something that feels like that. Right?
100%. I'm over here like, yes, Josie.
Hand gestures.
Yeah, honestly, I think that, Instagram, Pinterest, they're wonderful tools to kind of take maybe a loose vision and narrow it in. but you will never, ever be able to replicate anything that you ever see. And it is such a disservice to yourself to focus on the exact
Right.
A, B, C, D, E that goes into a photo. Because, I mean, yeah, I love that idea. And it's like your wedding is one of the best opportunities to be present, because everyone you would ever want to call, text, look at their phone. Yeah, they're right there. And you're just, there's so much going on, and there's such the sense of, wedding days go by so fast that, I'm not going to lie. I'm just talking and I totally forgot my train of thought. And I'm like, bring it back.
No, I'll help you. Here's a little rope for you down in your well to tug you out.
Okay.
So instead of looking at images and saying, I want that dip photo in front of that tree with the sun partially setting behind us, and maybe there can be like little cotton flecks in the air or something. Instead of saying that, looking at the emotion that's captured by the photographer and focusing on like maybe the people that you want in photos. I mean, I just really think brides and grooms get stuck on that photo shot list. And I always say, actually, I just said this yesterday during a potential new client consultation, that I will help them create, if their photographer does not, because there's some overlap, a family photo shot list, so that they are capturing the things or the people that they want in the combinations that they need. Since, of course, there's always moms who are like, I'd really like a cousin's picture. And you're like, okay, I would like to know that before cake cutting time. So a family photo shot list. But when it comes to other photos, like, you should be hiring a photographer whose portfolios you like. And so then you're guaranteed to get images that are similar to what they capture.
Exactly. Yes. And I will say that the family shot list is kind of the only shot list that I like to receive. So we can just go down the line, be efficient, get the important things that a lot of people are going to love.
And print.
Yes.
Those are images that grandmas do want and your parents do want. And you want the combos, the different combinations for like your parents' anniversary. And then you're like, look, here's a picture of just our parents.
Sure.
Maybe that's coming up to 60 years or something.
Yeah.
I just stated your parents. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Family shot list. That's great. We get it done. But everything else, it just, and I mean, I haven't actually been married, but I know the feeling when Eric and I will go on a trip. I use Instagram as a trip planning tool now because it just has the most. But I will find like a restaurant I want to go to or a hike I want to take, and I'll say, okay, I want to take a photo of me doing this thing at this point.
Right.
And it's actually really interesting because on this last trip, we go on big trips every winter for a few months. But I started making a list of the times that I was irritated at Eric, which
it was a short list.
It was a very interesting tool, but I noticed every time that I got irritated at him was when we were trying to take a photo.
Right, and get that one shot that you're like,
exactly,
we're here and I need to get this.
Exactly.
Like was this with the hot air balloons? Was that? And is that when you got put on the no-fly list because of your erratic flight changes?
No. I mean, we did have one minor, I mean, what do I even want to call it? A scuffle, a tiff? No, I mean, it was a pretty non-serious thing, but it's when I go into something thinking, I need this specific thing.
Right.
And then I set up the camera and I kind of handed it to him. And, we maybe talk about, like, this is exactly what I want. But that's the time where it's just the most frustrating when you have this one vision that you're not willing to compromise.
Right.
At least, not.
No, I think that translates really easily to brides and grooms.
Yeah.
Like, honey, too bad. I wanted 5 hours of bride and groom pictures, and you're on hour 2, and your groom's like, okay, well, I want a beer. So
sure.
It's my wedding day, too.
Yeah. And it's interesting, pardon me, it's interesting that I find myself in that scenario because on the wedding day, I find that I'm actually not a big fan of scouting locations ahead of time for shoots. because I find that zaps a little bit of the
spontaneity. No, it's just me.
Okay. Yeah, it zaps the spontaneity and the inspiration I find, because one of the biggest sources of inspiration is light. And even if you show up at the same time to scout, it's just going to be different. The mood is different.
What if it's cloudy? What if it's not cloudy? What if there's one big cloud and it blocks the sun, but it's still blue skies? Or
exactly.
What if it's a little windy? What if it's chilly in that spot?
Yeah.
And they don't want to be chilly, or all these things.
Exactly. But when
temperamental.
when you just show up and you allow the inspiration to take your hand and you just follow it and you go sprint in that direction, that's always, you know what? Let's just open this up. That's probably when life is just
happens.
Yes. Angels singing.
Okay. So if I'm a bride or a groom and I'm saying, great, I really like this photographer based on their portfolio, I'm going to heed Josie and Kimberly's advice and not create a 4-page shot list that includes like pictures of the ceremony, pictures of me walking down the aisle, pictures of me at the altar, pictures of me walking back down the aisle, pictures of me signing the marriage license, which is all standard practice. That's standard. If your photographer doesn't know to capture those things, don't hire that photographer. But I've done that. I've taken that advice. How do I communicate to you important things that are happening? Let's say I'm giving my bridesmaids gifts, my mom a gift. We're opening letters that we wrote to each other the night before.
Just tell me. But at some point I'm going to be there, and I find that when I start shooting, I feel like I become 5 different people.
Right.
On the outside, I'm very calm, but I'm like, look here, look here, look here. Like, did someone just laugh? What's going on over there?
Yeah, your ears perk up.
Yes.
I do that. And I listen to every conversation that happens at a wedding. And someone could be across the room on the other side and they just walk in and they're like, oh, I wonder where the bathrooms are. And I am like on the opposite side helping catering. And I'll be like, to the left. The bathrooms are on the left. And they're like, what? Who? Oh, thank you. Like, so similar, right? You hear moments like, or you'll hear probably like, oh, are you going to put your dress on soon? And then the bride's like, yeah, I think I'm going to. And you're like, oh, okay, she's putting her dress on soon.
Exactly.
I'm not going to go pee then.
Right. And I do try to anticipate those moments when I have the final consult with my brides and grooms. Right. I will ask them if there are any surprises they have planned, not for each other, but things that I just need to be aware of. Or like if they have great-grandmother's handkerchief that I might overlook, just certain things that I know I need to be prepared for, and then just constantly looking around, scanning again. Right. But yeah, worst case scenario, just tap me on the shoulder. Hey, she's going to do this thing. And I'm like, cool, I'll go get that thing. So,
right. I think that's great. And that's kind of like a videographer style, right? Like where you're a little bit more in the backdrop and you're just like a silent observer of what's happening. And then you capture the moments as they organically happen.
Exactly.
Instead of being like, which is what I do a little bit more of, like, okay, it's 10 a.m. Like this should be happening. And I always tell my brides and grooms, like, here's the timeline. And if we follow this timeline, not to a T, but if we follow it, things will move along and you won't be 3 hours late for your ceremony. But in the moment, I'm not going to come in and be like, you haven't done this yet? Why haven't you done this yet? You need to do this right now. Get dressed. But if I come in...
That stresses me out just to hear you say that.
But if I come in and the bride's about to get her dress on and none of the bridesmaids are dressed, I might be like, oh, okay, well, you take your time getting dressed, and then go up to each bridesmaid and be like, hey, do you want to, like, I don't know, look nice for the pictures? You might want to, like, get out of your sweatpants.
Sure.
And put your dress on. It's totally your choice. It's just a suggestion. But for sure, I'll tell mom, like, you should get dressed. Because then moms hate those pictures where they're, like, not ready yet.
Sure.
And they're like, sure, I'll just take the photos of my wrinkly hands doing the buttons. Like, sure. Also, they don't want that probably. But, yeah, so kind of hand in hand.
Yeah, it's really, when you're shooting a wedding, I feel like there are so many roles other than just be the photographer. And there's probably a bit of overlap with the planning and the photographer, because
for sure.
I actually feel like my chief role is not to take the photos, but it's to make sure that they are both happy.
Yeah, and calm.
Right.
And collected. And, like, if they're like, oh, my gosh, I don't know if this happened. What if this didn't happen? Did it happen? I can't see if it happened. And you're like, well, just go check. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm back. It happened.
Sure.
Oh, okay, great. Now I'm happy again.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's all just one big circle because if they're not happy about something, the photo is going to suck anyway.
Yep.
So you really have to work. It's a lot of kind of moderating, or not moderating, but what's the word I'm looking for?
It starts with an M. It ends in an ing.
We'll
managing.
Slide.
How about that?
I will take it.
Okay.
I will take that, Josie. You're really the person that's, greasing the wheels, making sure everything's happy. Because, yeah, if people aren't happy, it's not good for anyone involved. Yeah.
And then that one bridesmaid has a stank face. And you're like, cool. You all look very nice. But Leslie
sure
looks like she hates you.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So maybe allow things to be a little more organic. Along the lines of that would be a great suggestion to not jam pack your timeline so you don't feel like you have to rush from one thing to the next. I always think that's great. My wedding this weekend was a backyard wedding, no first look, no bridal party pictures beforehand, and probably 20 minutes before the wedding is when the bride got dressed. And Josie was like, okay, that's great. Everyone looks so nice. I'm so proud of you for being dressed. Bride, you should probably follow suit.
Sure.
I mean, it was very chill. I'll live because she wasn't dressed 3 hours early. It's totally fine. It didn't matter. But definitely, in that instance, it was fine. That was plenty of time for her to put on her dress. That's all she needed to do. No pictures, were needed once she got in that dress. Just walk down the aisle, which was right outside her front door.
Perfect.
I know. But definitely, I think if you leave your timeline with lots of empty space, then that's when things can happen a little more organically. And that's when it's like, oh, well, should we go do this now? Great, sure. Let's go do it.
Yes. And always my favorite photos of any shoot, anytime, is when there's that little bit of pocket. And when your brain kind of opens up as seeing that as like you've already done everything, and so then something switches on and you're like, oh, but you know what, I just had this idea, like if you guys want to try it, like that's always kind of the key. Like if I'm like, if you guys want to try this one thing, you should just always say yes, because those are always my favorite, when there's just like it's really happening right
spontaneous
there.
Yes, you're a spontaneous person. Okay, so what are some of your tips or advice on how couples can have a day that's set up for success? So obviously communicating some of what's going on to you and allowing space. Any other little tidbits that you think when your brides do it, you're like, yes, you get an A+?
Sure. There's so many different things you can do no matter what stage of the planning process you're in. But from the very beginning, you just have to hire vendors that you believe in.
Right.
Nothing makes me happier when I get an inquiry and they say, we love your portfolio. So I think, great. They've looked at my stuff. Yeah, they've looked at my stuff. They connect with it. I'm not going to have to tweak my style to fit their style. And so that gives me license to just run with it. So picking vendors that you love their vision and you just let them do their thing.
Right. And I think that is a little tricky, right, for brides and grooms. Like, obviously you're not in this category, but there are some vendors where you just don't know if they're going to perform or do well or have your best interest in mind, specifically when it comes to like maybe other categories like DJs or catering, where it's a larger conglomerate. I mean, DJs, it's one person, but when it's a bigger group, how do you know? Like, okay, I'm hiring this caterer and they seem fine.
That's when you hire a wedding planner who can give you referrals.
Oh, yes. That was an unintentional plug setup. Okay, so definitely hiring vendors that you can trust, that you have a good vibe from, reading reviews. And if those reviews kind of speak to you, it's kind of like buying a pair of shoes and you read the reviews and you're like, they sound like they might be okay,
Yeah. And I think even more than reviews, because It's always really interesting to read bridal reviews because more often than not, it's probably the first time this person is getting married, and they don't really know anything different. So if they had a good experience, I mean, it's great to read
Such a good point.
A positive review. But I think actually meeting with the person and see how you get along, and I mean, especially for coordinators and photographers who are literally glued to you all
That's your new
day.
BFF.
Yes. It's
gonna
like
be closer to you than your sister.
Yes,
I will see your butt cheeks. It will happen. It for sure will happen.
Sure, yeah.
Kimberly will see your tits for sure.
Okay.
She for sure will. Now you're trying not to think about it, are you?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, focus.
Because you have to put your dress on.
Exactly.
And some dresses, you know, they've got the built-in bra. And if this is the first time, like if you didn't take dance when you were younger, then you do not have the art of getting dressed without showing your private parts. You don't.
Sure.
So it will happen. And at that point, you're like, who cares?
Right. And I mean,
I'm getting married, whatever.
When you're shooting, it's like scene one, seen them all. And when shoot, I just had a thread that I
know I cut you off.
I mean, it's intimate in that way, but I think it's far more intimate because I mean, the planner, videographer, photographer, like your crew, they're witnessing like some really raw emotional goods.
Yep.
Like usually when a bride or a groom, if they write letters to one another and they're reading it, no one else is there except one of those three people potentially. And to cry in front of anyone else is kind of a big deal, but to cry in front of strangers and know you're being recorded, I always give my couples such props because when they're being real and vulnerable, that is so hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like it's an easy thing. I mean, like right now, like there's a camera on me and I'm feeling like a little bit nervous. But like that's my job to like, and you know, I do a lot of self-portraits.
Yes.
But I mean, I still feel a little bit nervous and I'm not getting married. But just
right. There's no like emotional stakes on the line. Or maybe there is. Maybe you're like really feeling highly charged about this interview. And you're
I mean, I have had a number of coffees, but I think I like this Damn I'm Good the best.
Yes. My couple, Julia and Johanna, gave that to me.
I
love it.
I really want to have it swiveled towards me so I can read that and be like, yes, damn I'm good, damn I'm good. But
Positive affirmations.
Yes, I love it better that the camera can see this. And so every time I take a sip, it's just like, damn I'm good.
Yeah, it's subliminal messaging. And then, like, next week we'll have one that says, hire me.
Yeah.
With the email address at the bottom. Contact me today. Okay, let's talk about obligatory wedding photos that aren't really vital to your post-wedding picture collection. And to get our juices flowing, this is what I mean. Signing your marriage license.
Oh my God. As soon as we started talking, I'm like, marriage license, marriage. Okay. Sorry.
Also, like your invitation flat lay. Like these are things that maybe will go in your album. And like I say this all the time to couples, maybe you'll post it on Instagram, but you probably don't need them. Any other ones that I have a favorite one that you've taken. Shoes with the dress in the hotel, but it's like I use that because I love it, but there's certain photos that it's like it's okay if you don't get those.
Sure. For me, where the line is drawn, if there are no people in it, you don't need it. If there are people in it, like that's what the day is all about.
Yeah.
And I mean, worst case scenario, if we didn't get a picture of your rings and you are dying to have that, you know what? Let's meet up. Just bring your rings. I'll take another
tree and we're
good. Yeah, like I'll take another different shot.
Yeah.
But it's just the line, like, okay. For example, one of the reasons I don't give wedding blogs my readership much anymore is because I was cruising around one day, I think it was a year or two ago, and I saw this article. And it said, these are the 23, it may have been 21, but I think it was 23.
It's an odd number.
Yeah, these are the 23 photos every bride. And I'm like, oh, every bride, strike one, needs strike two, because there's nothing you need.
You just get married.
Right.
Well, you need to have a declaration of intent and a pronouncement. Otherwise, it's not legal. But you can still get married.
Yeah.
Just not legally
And I've had that once before when they didn't know in Minnesota you needed to apply for the license.
Yay!
But it was
I didn't
still
officiate,
fine.
and he's maybe not certified, so maybe the wedding wasn't a wedding. But
yeah,
that's
still
okay.
fine.
It'll be fine. Just do it later.
Yeah. But this article was the 23 photos every bride needs of her wedding dress.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen a million of them.
Oh, and it just killed me because the way I like to shoot.
Yeah. I probably have one of those actually.
Oh.
It's from a really long time ago. I'm not embarrassed.
Okay, cool. But
I know. Everyone has to start somewhere.
Sure. You know what? Yeah. When I redid my website, all the blogs from more than 2 years old they're in a...
Yeah, I'm revamping.
Yeah, they're in a corner.
It's 17 ways to photograph your wedding dress.
Okay. Well,
how do you feel about that?
That's a little bit different.
I feel better about it.
Okay, and I see you're scrolling, and there are a lot of photos of the bride in the dress.
Yeah.
But this was just like on a hanger in a tree, on a hanger here, this, that, and the other. But one of the things that I really try to stay away from with weddings in any part of the process is the idea of fear, and that there are things you are going to miss out on and things you need, because it all comes down to two people becoming one, la-di-da. I shouldn't say la-di-da. No, it's a big deal. But it's, it
doesn't need to be about the stuff.
Right. And portraits speak so much more to me than a thing ever will. And I mean, I love a good wedding dress shot where you get the pretty little hanger, you hang it on the hook, and there's just this majestic sense of anticipation attached to it. But I want to see the bride in that dress because that's when it's going to come to life.
Right. Or like grabbing her dress.
Yes. Oh.
And like carrying it. Or like, yes. I think that's part. There's 4 non-dress on the person images. And maybe we'll have to revamp that and we'll work on that together. And there'll be a little opportunity to collaborate even more. Yes, I totally agree. I think that there's an evolution as a wedding vendor in like the kinds of weddings that you want to encourage or help or assist at. And initially it's kind of more like, let me just do what I do. And then it kind of pushes more into let me make the world a better, happier place by being at your wedding, and is less about like the camera specifically and more about like the relationships and nurturing that.
Right.
And
the
holding
experience.
the space. Yeah. I like that. Good job. I'll hire you.
You good job too.
Okay. How do you feel then about wedding videography and kind of being a team on the wedding day and tackling everything?
That's a really interesting question. Let me just preface by saying whenever I watch a wedding video, honestly not very often, but when I watch a wedding video, I usually cry.
Yep.
Every single time.
Yep. I'm like, oh, these strangers are so kind. And
yes.
nice
and you
pretty.
just, you watch and you're pulled into that story, and then you get the music. And that being said, from my perspective as a photographer, it kind of goes one of two ways. Either there's a really beautiful sense of teamwork between me and the videographers, and there's a really nice respect between us, and we're really coming together for the couple.
Yeah.
And then I love watching videos from weddings I shot because, like, I'm watching the story, but I'm like, there's me. I saw the top of my head.
Or your shoulder. Or your camera strap.
Yes. I secretly get really excited over that. But, right, I've had videographers where, and we're kind of building on one another, and it's amazing and it's wonderful. But then I've just also had experiences where it just seems like it's a power struggle kind of throughout the day.
Like, now we're going to do the thing that I want to do because I'm going to be in charge of the timeline.
Right. And it can just be a really delicate thing because, and I mean, like when I was in high school, and I would be put in a group project for anything, I'd always be like, okay, guys, you don't have to do a thing. I'm just going to give you the A. I'm going to do all the work, and that suits me. Like, we'll do this. And it can be really hard because there is kind of this unspoken rule with the hierarchy of who's directing. Like, it's usually the photographer is kind of leading everything. Videographers are more just kind of
observers.
Yeah. And there is some nice back and forth that happens within there. It's not like, this is my show, you back down. But
it's better if there's one voice on a wedding day.
Right. It's kind of the too many cooks spoil the pot.
Yep.
But I will also say, I've never seen a spoiled pot. I mean, it might be a little salty with too many voices, but I mean,
it's not going to make or break your day.
Right, exactly, because I like to think that I'm professional enough to like
egos out.
Right, like
fine, you can be in charge.
Yes. I'm going to get the shot. Even I mean, it just means you have to be a little bit more creative with angles and
So for brides and grooms looking to hire a videographer, I think by and large they do that after they've hired the photographer. Maybe a good place to get referrals would be from your photographer of videographers that they pair well with, like working with, think the couple's style would fit with, all of that jazz.
I completely agree.
Okay. I just had a couple hire a videographer last minute. I'm so grateful that they did. And because their wedding was gorgeous and beautiful, and the bride made all these concrete candle holders that I feel like should have gotten captured like in some motion way because they had like flickering candles. Anyways, and the photographer and videographers worked beautifully together, and I like commented more than once like, oh my gosh, you guys are getting along so well, because it is kind of a little bit like you said, of that power struggle a little bit, like who's getting the shot when. And then sometimes maybe the photographer would be like, okay, well, I am getting this and now I'm taking them off, and the videographers are like, oh wait, can we just like one more second, because we kind of wanted to get this angle without you in it or something, you know, just because they have a little bit more fluid motion.
Sure. Yeah, I think being able to work together and setting your ego aside maybe at some parts. I mean, it can be tricky, but I mean, the times when it meshes, it is so beautiful. Right. And I'm so happy to feel like I've got this, this side team with me, and we're doing this fun stuff.
It's like a production crew. And
yes,
you like
exactly.
Go around and you're like, oh, and action.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you're eating dinner at your little vendor table, and you're like talking shop, and you're like, oh, this is cool. Like we're,
Yeah, we're friends.
Yeah.
So maybe just ask your photographer, or if you hire your videographer first, of people they like working with. And then you'll get kind of the same skill level too.
Yes. Brilliant idea.
Thank you. I'll write it down in the show notes. So if we can digress a bit, because I love your travels, do you have like some tips on how to travel with loved ones, your boyfriend, fiance, specifically for brides and grooms listening, if they are doing a honeymoon after their wedding, and maybe it was like kind of a lot to get to the wedding, and now you kind of still have a lot because you're traveling in a different location. I have a lot of brides going to like Italy or Hawaii or one other place, Spain this year. Tips for traveling.
This could be a can of worms. We're gonna be concise here. And I will say that Eric and I are still learning how we like to travel best with one another. But some of the hard and fast rules that we try to adhere to: only try to do one thing a day, only one main goal, and then everything else is a bonus. 2-night minimum at every hotel, because the feeling when you check in and then you have one night and then you have to check out, no bueno.
Not great.
Go to a city, leave as fast as you can. Cities, I don't know, it really depends on what kind of vibe you're after, but I find that when we're in cities, it's a much more stressful of like, where are we going? There's so many people. And there's a lot of options too, which can get overwhelming. I agree. Just get outside. And one of the personal things that we've also found that we really love is anywhere that we can hire a van and camp.
Yeah.
But it
takes a certain person.
Yes.
I'm totally that person. Actually, I like tent camping more, but
ooh, I just tented for the first time last week.
For the first time?
Yes.
You were in New Mexico or
Arizona?
Oh, Arizona. Where did you guys camp?
We camped a lot around some of the public land around the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I mean, I felt very outdoorsy.
You're super outdoor because there's nothing like really separating you from things that can eat you.
Okay, well, I wasn't really thinking that so much. I was thinking just that, we didn't shower very often and we, sleeping is really
on the ground.
I did have a fancy sleep mat that arrived and a fancy sleeping and a camp pillow. That's the biggest load of
anything. I don't use a pillow. I'm the weird. We sleep on the floor. We don't have a bed. We floor sleep in life. And so when we go camping, we're like, we're still floor sleeping.
Did you say you don't have a bed?
We don't. We do have a bed in our home. We do not sleep on it.
Wow. Is this like a chiropractic thing or?
I don't know. Personal choice. I think we've been floor sleeping for like 3 or 4 years. And we tried a bed. We tried a bed for a bit. I know. We tried a bed for a bit because we bought a house and we were like, we should, I guess, maybe like try again to be adults. And so we got a bed. We have those camping mats, the inflatable ones that are like really thin. And we take camping. And so we tried that on the like real like CB2 bed and we just didn't like it. So we went back to the floor. So we have like, it's like really kind of hodgepodge sounding, but it's like we refinished our hardwood floors, so we sleep on hardwood floors. So usually before we floor slept on carpet, which is a little more padding, right? Because there's like the foam underneath the carpet. So it's like kind of a little bit of a, so then your hips don't hurt because your bone is pressing against the floor. But we put down like a sleeping bag, but like an old school one from the 80s. So it's like has cotton in it. And then on top of that is like this thin piece of foam. That's it. But it's the floor. I mean, it's the floor. This is like Japanese style.
If you can cultivate that skill of being able to sleep on the floor.
And I don't have a pillow.
I know. Wow. Okay.
I don't sleep on a head pillow.
Wow.
Like a thin blanket folded to be that high.
Like you can sleep anywhere. Like your flight's canceled. Boom. You're on the floor at that airport. No big deal. Very comfortable.
Just need to put a sock over my face. So then.
Wow.
I'm tricked into thinking it's dark. Yes. So yeah, use sock. So camping is like the best because then it's the fresh air, but we're still floor sleeping. What are you used to?
Yeah, I suppose.
It's good. I don't know. I used to wake up every morning and my back would be like, stiff. And as soon as we stopped, and my neck too, I would get really bad tension headaches. And so I stopped using a pillow and that took that. And then we just tried when we started trying to become minimalist. We were like, okay, well, let's just do this floor sleeping thing. And we freaking loved it. We tried first. We like slept on our living room floor just in case because we still had a bed. And we did that for like a week. And we were like, this is fine. We don't mind. And so we sold our bed. And I don't know. Have never looked back. Actually, we did look back because we bought a house. And we were like, we should probably have a bed because this room looks dumb. But we went back to it.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we hate sleeping on beds. I mean, we sleep on a bed when we go to a hotel or like stay at people's houses.
Yeah, no thanks. We're going to sleep, on the floor.
And funny story, actually, because we go to Arizona every year. Goodyear, like Phoenix area.
Okay.
So kind of close to where you were. And so my aunt's house or my husband's aunt's house has a room and then a den. And so then everyone just assumed that we were going to sleep on the den floor. But the thing is, it's tile. So kind of different, right? Like we don't sleep on concrete. Like there's something there so that we don't get bed sores. But I don't know. Yeah. So we slept on the bed. We're like, no, we're just going to take the room.
Wow. I feel like this is a pretty unknown fact about you, Josie.
Fun fact. I sleep on the floor.
Yeah, I wouldn't have realized that there's different categories of floor, of like yes floor, no floor.
Because like a lot of, maybe in like Japan or China, they sleep on like a futon on the floor and then they roll up that futon and put it away. So that's like part of like the minimalist vibe, is that you're clearing your space. There's like this really good YouTube video of this guy who lives in like, I don't even know, I think it's like 232 square feet or something like that. And so his room is his living room, is his everything. So he just rolls up his futon, puts it away, and then he has space for like everything else. And he used to be a hoarder. It's a very, very good story. And
you should try living in a van.
I think we would love it. We watch van living all the time. There's a good okay, sorry. We don't have TV also. So we watch YouTube. We don't have Netflix. We don't have Hulu. And we don't pay for YouTube Red or whatever it is. So it's called Big Living, Tiny House, Big Living or something like that. It's this Australian guy, Bryce Langston. I think that's his last name. And he talks to a lot of converter van people that are in Australia, New Zealand, and elsewhere. But yeah, we think we could do it.
Yeah, it's
just the shower part, like, because then you have to really be cognizant of, do you have a compost toilet when you go?
No.
See, so like we would totally do it. We'd have a compost toilet, but then we'd have to be like, okay, plan our showers.
It's actually
not that hard.
No, it's not so hard. And this is kind of taking a left turn.
It's perfect.
Honeymoon, right here. No, but if you really are interested in vans, New Zealand is the perfect place. There is an app that we had that literally has
public bathrooms.
Yes.
Because in other countries, not America, like having like public bathrooms are a thing, like a bath house, but like just public restrooms with showers.
Yes.
Kind of like did you drive down to Arizona?
No, we flew and rented a car.
Because when you drive around the U.S., there's like truck stops that have that, but they're really designed for truckers.
Mm-hmm.
And in other countries, they're just designed for people.
Yes.
That are just normal.
Yes. And that's one of the things about coming home is from a long van trip is the shower and knowing that you just have it.
You got one.
Whenever you need it. But
I think I'll take a shower.
Yeah, you just don't know the joy of certain mundane things in your life until it's like,
yep. Because we did similar. Our trip is like a quarter of the length of yours, but we drove down to Texas and did like New Mexico and Arizona, and a lot of the parks that we stayed at did not have showers, or they had showers, but it was like not anywhere near a campsite, so then we'd have to like drive to them. And Big Bend is the big national park in Texas, and it's humongous. It's like, what is it, 800 acres or something like that? I should look this up.
I'll just say yes.
And so to get to the showers, it's like, no, I don't want to drive 60 miles, like, or whatever it is. Yes. So we also like are very used to be like, well, we don't get a shower for a week. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, people survive. And we're not like going to a fancy restaurant in the interim. We're hiking and amongst other non-showering adults.
Just go swimming. Go swimming and you're fine.
Yes, exactly. Okay, it is 1,252 square miles. But how many acres is that?
That means nothing to me.
I know. It is. Oh, I'm so off. Not what did I say? 800 acres. 800,000 acres.
Okay, yeah. See, that's why let's just not even deal in the realm of numbers. A couple decimal points really just throws it off.
But I feel like when you're traveling with someone that you love tenderly, and maybe you've just had like a really overwhelming experience of planning a wedding, and now you're going on a trip, and that's in and of itself somewhat overwhelming. Like you said, keep it simple. Plan one thing per day. Like, this is what we're doing today, and then we'll figure it out. I also do the same thing. Like, I'll go on Instagram and save posts of stuff. So, like, we like live music, so I'll save posts of, like, places that have live music. And then I can kind of scroll through it and be like, oh, yeah, like, I had saved that place. Let's go there. or if we're walking, we'll just stop into a place. You know, that kind of spontaneity and knowing like you're probably not going to starve to death. So it's okay that you don't like have everything planned to a T.
Yeah.
Did you have a camp stove or anything on your converter van?
Yes. Yes, we did.
Did you use it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And it was, I don't like, I say that we lived in a van and we went camping last week, but like we rented a convertible to drive around in, and then we would just pull up to these random lands. And when we were in New Zealand, when we had our van, like we'd pull up and there are people eating beans out of a can at a tent, and we're like cooking salmon and risotto for dinner. So I mean, like we're camp people, but we're not.
You weren't quite roughing it.
Yes.
Like you didn't backpack in anywhere and bring fresh water.
We did actually do that a few times.
See?
Just for a one overnight.
Okay.
But so we almost died of dehydration. Oh my God.
Because you had to hike in, and so you were like so thirsty you drank all your water right away.
Basically, yeah. Poor planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe ease into it. So if you're planning your honeymoon, maybe don't rough it right away.
Yes, but you know what? In those experiences when you're really roughing it, that's the time when I feel like you bond the most.
Right.
Like Eric and I hiked a miserable hike to this hot New Zealand, and
longer legs than you and potentially a faster pace and different muscle mass. Like you're like, slow down. I often cry because I'm like, I don't want to be last, and I'm last right now. Can you stop so I can catch up and be first?
Sure. Yeah, I hear that. But like when you are doing things like that, there's such an opportunity for that tenderness to come out. Like I remember one particularly grueling, ridiculous hike that we had no business trying to summit, but we had very little food, and him offering me his food and me being like, well, you can have my water, and like just yes, there is a potential for many fights, but there's also the potential to really bond.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of a crapshoot about what you're gonna get, but
maybe eat every 2 hours and have plenty of water. We had never bring enough water, but we're like whatever. Because once we did this hike in Arizona where we for sure did not have enough water. We were gone, peak UV hours, and it was like turned into 5 or 7 hours. It was ridiculous. And we ran out of water immediately. And so any other hike in comparison to that one, we're like, well, it's not that hike in Arizona. So at least it's not that hot. You know, we're very like Minnesotan in that way. Like, it could be worse.
Okay, speaking of, are we digressing too much, or is this cool?
No, this is cool.
Okay.
If anyone doesn't want to listen, like, kudos to you for having an opinion. Don't listen.
But speaking of Minnesotans, have you noticed what is the deal with like Minnesotans going to Arizona?
Yeah.
And being like, oh, it's a dry heat. It's fine. 100 degrees, dry heat.
Someone else just said that to me too. And they're like, no. Oh, it was David from Machine Shop because he went to Vegas. And he was like, this dry heat stuff, like, this is a real deal. Like,
hot is hot. But everyone's just so like, oh, no, it's a dry heat. It's hot. Okay.
What temperature was it when you were there?
I don't know.
Like over 100.
Not quite over 100.
Because you were pretty far. I mean, Grand Canyon is northern Arizona.
It was probably in the 90s mark it got to.
South Rim.
We went to both.
And the north?
Yes.
And then at night it got pretty chill.
Yes.
Like it'd get down to 60s maybe?
One night it got down to about 40.
Yeah. Yeah, when we camped in Big Bend, this is February, March, but it got down to very cold. It was 30 degrees at night, and we were like, oh, okay. We weren't quite prepared for this. Like, we thought it was going to be nice and warm, but we were in Chisos Basin, which is quite a bit elevation difference than some of the other parts of the park. So it's like a 20-degree difference within the park because, like I said, it's 100,000
100,000 acres, yes.
Yes, 800,000. Yes, it's intense. Okay, so traveling with the one that you love, maybe take it easy for your first trip. Plan one thing per day. What about packing? Any tips or insights that you have about that? Because you have your signature, like, pop of color outfit that you usually don in different places. And anyone who has no idea what I'm talking about should definitely check you out on Instagram. and you can scroll quickly through and you'll see exactly what I mean.
Sure. Packing is a really tricky thing that I feel like I could talk about at length on, but you're referring. I bought a red dress for the last trip. See, when I pack, I have essentially photo shooting clothes, and then I have like hiking clothes,
Right.
And having it can be hard
To fit all the stuff.
Yeah, but essentially it came down to on this last one that, okay, I get one red dress that's going to look good everywhere, and I'm sick to death of this red dress, but that's just going to be, I mean...
I get to put it on again.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, like, if someone's taking a honeymoon, likely it's, 7 days to 3 weeks max, and you were gone for 4 months.
Yeah.
So to be fair, it's a different time span. But in general, I think that's smart. Like, pack less, and then if you have to bring home more, or just having less luggage is kind of nice. This is coming from a wannabe minimalist, so pack less.
Yes.
You don't need things.
I was reading once, someone said that when you're planning a trip, you should pack half the amount that you think you need and bring twice the amount of money, which is...
Spot on.
Yeah.
Because you guys like to go and eat and try different things when you travel too, right?
Yeah.
What did you do about money and currency? And did you, like, every place that you went to, you just would go where and get appropriate money? Does that make sense? I don't know.
Kind of.
Or everywhere you went accepted the same type of money?
Well, a lot of places just take cards, so then you don't have to worry about it. And
True.
when
2018, Josie.
Yeah, we book we book all of our accommodation online. You give up a credit card then. Most of them just take the money. Some say bring cash when you come.
Okay.
So the majority of everything was just card you don't worry about. But
okay.
Yeah, we just pulled out cash, always had some on hand.
When you would fly in, or... Because did you drive some places?
We drove...
Did you cross any borders?
Yes, we did. We drove all over Portugal into Spain, and we drove everywhere in South Africa, which is a very large country. Eric and I are very good at sitting in a car together.
Yes, same. I can go 5 hours without having to pee. It's very impressive.
Whoa, I didn't mean that.
One time 7. I don't know how it happened.
You have a bladder of champions, Josie?
It's just in the car.
Wow.
It just is a thing. It's so mind over matter. I know.
See, but actually my New Year's resolution, I think it was last year, if I have to go pee, I need to go pee.
Oh, listen to your body.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, yeah. Now I'm like, why am I talking about going pee?
I know. It comes out.
Shouting it into the mic.
It's okay. It's okay. Everyone's very fascinated right now.
Okay.
/ me.
Okay.
Ian stopped listening a while ago. Yes. Okay, so best way to travel. What about the easiest place abroad to get around as a monolingual American?
I would consider myself monolingual. I mean, I did take 1 year of German in high school, and I have retained a lot. I like to think that I can kind of speak French after a few Duolingo lessons. I can't. But I mean, honestly, the world is so...
We're all humans.
Is
so
the world anglicized? Is that per...
Sure.
Trying to throw a $5 word
Most people speak American.
Yeah, it's just the tourism industries in so many countries rely on being able to communicate with English speakers.
Yeah.
The only place I've really had a big struggle was Japan.
Okay.
But the easiest, Greece, and the Netherlands. Like, everyone in the Netherlands has impeccable English.
Oh.
Impeccable.
Super impressive.
Yeah, and it's just a beautiful, wonderful, welcoming country. But yeah, Greece was, I think they've just been on the tourist
for sure
circuit for so long that, and the global tourism is a major cornerstone of their economy. So if the hoteliers and the restaurants they wouldn't.
What about any other tips that you have for brides and grooms, whether it's for their wedding day with their photographer, their timeline, or their honeymoon and traveling?
I'm just smiling because I'm like, oh, right. This is like, okay, wedding.
You're doing good.
We're talking, talking about going to the bathroom on car trips.
I really want to emulate Joe Rogan's style, and I feel like we did it in this episode.
I'll be honest, I don't really know who Joe Rogan is.
It's okay. We don't. I'm going to tag him on this, and you will be one of many female people that doesn't know who Joe Rogan is.
Okay.
Remember Fear Factor?
Yes.
He was the host for that, and he also is a really big UFC.
That's a fighting thing?
Yep. He does like all of their MMA fights and stuff. Whatever. That's
now
two
I'm
separate
like,
things, but
Fear Factor.
His podcast is like on episode 1,000,100.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
You'll listen to one episode and you'll either be hooked or you'll be like, "Thanks, Josie, for that." Wink.
I don't want to be hooked to any more.
It's on like 1,100.
No, I can't be
After
hooked.
Friends, you're good on binging.
Yes.
So what are you going to do when you edit this year?
Oh, well.
Dilemma. Listen to Spotify.
Yes, I deactivated Spotify when I went on my travels because I knew they would send me a deal again, and sure enough, so
have no ads.
Well, I just got 3 months for $10.
Oh, you're fancy.
I know.
We listen to all the ads. And we press play to watch the video to get 30 minutes of ad-free listening.
I just find out that
But I'm not editing.
Yeah.
We're doing yard work or just having casual Sunday mornings.
Yeah, the ads really draw me away from what I'm doing. And there's only so many times that you know what?
What about like a YouTube live video? Like they have like live music that you can listen to on YouTube.
Oh.
It's like unending hours.
See, I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, now you are. I said something helpful on this podcast today.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, you can just type it in. There's like live music and it just goes. I listen to binaural beats at night.
I have no idea what that is.
It's like, remember when you're at a spa and it's like, like that sound? I listen to that at night. It helps me sleep.
Okay.
But it's 9 hours and 9 minutes long. So it plays the entire night.
Wow.
I also try to get 10 hours of sleep a night on the floor.
Wow. Like, I really want to dive in. We need like a sister podcast of like life with Josie and this.
I feel like I was really, really close to getting like a reality show about weddings. And that would have been my opportunity to like highlight my life. But it hasn't happened yet. Pie House, I'm still interested.
Wow, yeah, there's just so much that we can uncover here. Let's interview Josie. Or actually, can I just put my shoe on the table for a second because I'm wearing these pink shoes and I just really want to show them off.
And they match your shirt
anyway.
And your earrings.
Anyway, okay. Wedding advice. Okay. Here's something. Unplugged ceremony.
Yay!
We didn't talk about that. So we were talking about how there's a shot list and how creatives don't really thrive off shot lists.
Right.
And I mean,
a true artist is more of a freestyler.
Because I find it very stressful if I'm like looking at my pocket of like, did I do this and crossing off. It makes me stressed. But, I mean, and there are basic things that a photographer will capture, and one of them is the kiss at the end of the aisle.
Ooh, yes.
I had one horror story, which turned out fine, and I've since changed my style, but I used to be pretty far back down the aisle for the kiss, so I could get kind of the full picture, everyone clapping, being happy. So I was anticipating that. Grandma, from her front row seat, walks directly in front of me. I panic. I sprint.
Shoved Grandma to the ground.
I did not shove. I tried to very like lightly tap, and I hope I wasn't like,
firm pressure.
Yeah. You know, because, you know, the whole thing is you're trying to maintain a calm, happy environment. But it was like, oh, God.
Get out of my way.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm being paid.
Right. Kind of tapped. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Stepped aside. I got the shot. It was fine.
But now you stand halfway up the aisle.
I'm just a little bit closer for those moments. But, I mean, in the processional and the recessional, I mean, there's not a lot you can do if someone brings an iPad.
Yes. Or just has a big camera. Maybe they have like a flowy dress shawl thing. And so now they have like bat wings right in front of you.
And it does get a little bit tricky because I feel like the photographs and the video are kind of the end product that you present. And so if someone does potentially have a big pink iPad, which I did have, and what I had to do was just Photoshop the pink to be gray to at least try to blend in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes it can come back on the photographer of like,
well, this wasn't a very good shot.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Well, your family wasn't very kind.
Yeah, it's just hard because I feel like, I mean, you're the last thing to deliver, and there's so much hope
and anticipation for those wedding photos to be absolutely perfect. And just like the photos that I saw on your website before I hired you.
Yes.
I think that to that point, people are like, oh, we'll have signs. Okay. People will read them and then they'll give them a middle finger and they'll walk away. So I think it's more important maybe to have your officiant say before the ceremony starts, wedding guests, thank you so much for being here. It's very important to the bride and groom, or bride and bride, to have an unplugged ceremony. That means turn your phones off or on silent. That means if you are planning on taking pictures so that you can have them selfishly for yourself, don't do it. And I think that if you are bride or groom listening to this and you're like, well, I know my Aunt Cheryl is going to want to take pictures for herself, or if it's something, I mean, this is completely separate stem, but if it's like, well, my grandpa can't come, so my cousin Dee is gonna do a Facebook live stream of our ceremony, that's different. What I'm talking about is those people that are sitting right on the inside of the aisle and they're stepping out and they've got pictures or cameras and they're trying to capture the moment for themselves so they have it. And the thing is, they're not present in the moment for your ceremony. They're not present because they're concerned about taking a picture that they have, one, no right taking, 2, don't know how to take, and 3, it's not going to look as good as what you're going to take. So I want to like take those people and shake them and be like, you're being selfish. You are being selfish. Like, I'm putting my foot down. You're totally being selfish. Why do you need that? Why do you need that picture for yourself? Like, just so you can show your friends at your knitting club next week that you got the picture? Well, that's rude. That's rude.
Sure, yeah. I mean, people's intentions are good.
Yes.
They like what they're seeing. They want to get it, but it can be a little heartbreaking.
Yes. And I think a lot of my couples are like, whatever, we don't care, it's fine. And that's totally fine. It's your wedding. You should have it absolutely the way that you want to. But if Josie ran the world, you would have to, like Joe Rogan at his comedy club shows, has like this bag that you put your phone in, and if it's in the bag, it can't ring or go off, and if it doesn't like distract you, you don't get service or something like that. So if you had to make a phone call, you would just step out and you could take it out of the bag. But I would have a bag at the beginning of the ceremony, and I would be like, okay, put everything in this bag, and you can't use it during the ceremony. You have to be present. You have to witness this love, witness the fact that they are committing their lives to each other. Yes. And if you don't want to, don't be here.
Right.
Because that's the whole point of you being there, is to be there for the couple, not to take pictures. That's why they hired a photographer and they paid them a lot of money, and they're paying you nothing. They're giving you a free dinner. So just sit down and enjoy the moment.
Right. And then what really kills me is then when somebody puts their cell phone picture online right away.
Yes.
And the bride and groom are so excited, and that's like their announcement photo of like, we got married, and it's someone really crappy thing. And I'm like, just wait a few hours. I'll have it up the next day. I'll give you one beautiful shot that's angels singing, choirs in the background.
And Josie doing fist pumps. Yeah.
Yes.
I know. Yes. I that's a good one. That hit on a personal like bias, apparently. I feel really strongly about not letting people take pictures that aren't hired to be there to take pictures.
And kind of a similarly Similarly, is that a word? We'll roll with it.
Surely is.
I just basically hate phones in general. Okay, this could go down a real dark well. We're gonna keep it light.
They're crushing our society.
Well, yeah, we'll table that idea. But one thing that I find interesting is, so during the cocktail hour,
Yeah.
I'm big on candids and I'm big on guest candids. Whoop, just hit the mic. I'm big on guest candids because you're gathering all of your very favorite people
Yep.
together.
To have fun.
Yeah.
You want pictures of them.
Yes.
Having fun.
Yes, and it really adds to the story. And who doesn't want a photo of their grandmother, like, drinking a glass of wine at the reception and having a laugh at a joke?
Yeah.
I love those photos. And one of the things I've noticed, though, is that it's guests are coming to anticipate that there are going to be guest candidates. And so for the people that are attending weddings and not planning, I've always wanted to just let you know this is how you will end up having me take your photo. First of all, if you make eye contact with me, I'm moving on. And because I mean, you can tell who knows, and they'll kind of spot me on the corner of the eye, and then they'll really adjust their pose, and so that's
Yeah.
just ignore me.
Yeah.
The
Be in
second
the moment.
Yes, the second way is if I'm photographing like people around a high top table at cocktail hour, if someone takes their phone out, I immediately move on, because to me, and I mean, they could be taking their phone out to take a picture.
What a great way to show that you're disinterested with what's going on.
Right.
That you have the mind capacity to be distracted, to think about what's happening connected to your phone.
Exactly.
Nomophobia, it's a real thing.
And it's one thing if you're like taking selfies, wait to post those selfies. Don't do it.
It's not your day.
Yeah. But when I see people take their phones out, and gosh, I'm trying to stay in happy world and not go dark deep. But like when people are, having a chat, they take out their phone, just start scrolling, kind of laughing, I move on.
Right.
So, yes.
So don't look at Kimberly ever.
Ignore me.
Avoid eye contact.
And put your phone away.
Don't even bring your phone. Why do you need it? Unless you're a parent and you have a babysitter. Why do you need it?
Yeah.
Give them the number of the venue. Don't do that. Venues don't even have landlines anymore. Apparently. Dated. All right. So any last words that you would like to impart? Where can listeners find you on the internet?
Well, I've got the Instagram.
At Studio KH.
Studio KH. My website is studiokh.com. And then I have a Facebook page that I will admit that
you update better than you think.
Do I?
I read that and I was like, lie. That's a lie.
I'm a little bit lax when I'm traveling about posting our travels.
Yeah.
But
you do good on Instagram.
Thanks.
And I am linking your Grease video in the show notes. So feel free to go down a rabbit hole, listeners.
There is going to be the big travel video, because I think we went to 8 different countries from January to May, and it's going to be the big video.
Do you have songs picked yet?
I do.
I'm so excited.
No, I love the song. It might actually be too short, which is never a problem I've run into.
Oh, okay.
But
because you have a lot to pack in there. 4 months is a long time. Also, I was going to say, I can't remember, but go check out that stuff. And I end every episode with a high five. So thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. That was a good smack. Good contact.
At your elbow.
Oh,
that's the trick.
That is the trick. Okay.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're still on YouTube for a bit. Out. Do you want to say anything to YouTube? Where your shoes are from?
They're tree torn.
Tree torn. Oh,
I got them on Madewell. But
Oh.
What I really have just been wanting to do this whole time, knowing that there's YouTube, is just like
pick your nose and
I've just
make
been
faces.
holding it in, the opportunity that there is
people watching.
I don't know which video camera. Let's actually do this. There's 20 video cameras.
Hello. Okay, what song are you picking for your video?
Okay, this is Top
that keeps
secret.
happening.
Yeah.
Oh, top secret. Do
Top
you not want to
secret.
say it on YouTube because
But
it's live right
I
now?
will tell you.
Okay.
It's a band called Oh Wonder. Have you
Oh,
heard of them?
No,
I don't think they're super big,
yet.
but
About to be.
Yes, and the song is Ultra Life.
Okay, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Oh my God! And the song is more about more like love story. And so when you're watching the video, it's kind of talking about like they found each other, la di da, they're happy.
Cute.
And oh my goodness, like I just put that song on and I just think
It's it. This is it.
Yeah, I mean, it literally takes me like an entire year to find the right song. And whenever I'm listening, I'm like, okay, this will be a
I had
video.
a composer, Abiding Harmony, on the podcast, and maybe you should hook up with him, and he could make some custom music for your stuff. So it could be like song elements that you really like mashed together.
Oh, fancy!
I know, he would do it.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest struggles of these travel videos.
Or it's like the beginning's good, and then the end you're like,
Exactly. Or the build is just way too long, and then that
and you have to edit it.
I don't know.
Use like iMovie to.
I do.
Same. Okay.
Yeah, I've got really proficient at Command B. Command B.
Same. I think that works perfectly. Well, everyone on YouTube, have a great day. Make sure you watch all the other videos if you are wanting more of this face. And check out Instagram if you're wanting more of that face. Bye, everyone. Are we good, Ian?
I don't want it to be over.
It's not yet. I'm making it awkward.
Oh, okay. Ian's making